Hi guys, and welcome to my channel. Here on Abby the Witch, we do witchy and alternative things. If you are a returning subscriber, welcome back. Thank you so much for your support. It means the world to me. And if you are new here, hi, welcome. Nice to meet you, and thank you so much for joining us today. So here on Abby the Witch, I am going to be doing my top favorite witchy related books here today. Now, some of these books are going to be, the genres are kind of all over the place. Some of them are like reference books. Some of them are fiction. Some of them are, well, no, I actually don't have in the stack any fiction books, but I do have like historically accurate books and just things like that. So you guys will see. I'll try to categorize them the best I can, but these are all of my favorite books, just some of them, honestly. I have so many books, but yeah, I wanted to cover that for you guys today. Let's go ahead and jump into our shout outs though, before we get started. So today I wanted to shout out two different witches, and the first witch I wanted to shout out was the Skeptical Witch. She has a YouTube as well as an Instagram. I love watching her for kind of like one-on-one content. Although she's very knowledgeable, she does a very good job of kind of breaking things down. So I really like her take on things. She's super interesting, and she has some really cool calming energy too as well. She does a lot of glamour magic too, and I'm really into that. I think it's really, really cool. She does like different hair colors and different makeup for glamour magic. I think it's really neat and very interesting. She's really cool, so please go show her some love. And the second shout out I wanted to make today was Breawna. She has a YouTube. I'm sure she probably does have an Instagram. I honestly haven't found her yet on Instagram, but I follow her on YouTube, and she also has some very calming, amazing energy. She does some really cool rune stone tutorial recently. She does some tarot card readings. She definitely talks about how she follows the moon and different like baths and rituals that she does for the moon phases. So she's really sweet and really cool. Go show her some love as well. Okay guys, so without further ado, we are going to jump right into these books. So I think the first category of books I want to do is like reference books. Like I said, I'll try to keep this as organized as possible, but I mean, whatever. So let me get out the first book for you. All right, guys, so these are three books that I probably reference the most for information, for sure. So the first one I wanted to bring up was Wicca. This is one of my favorite reference books. If you are a witch that you pull a lot from Wicca, or if you're just like a full-blown Wiccan witch, this is an amazing book. Also, if you're a Wiccan, you've probably heard of him, Scott Cunningham. If not, then it's cool. Don't think you're any less Wiccan or anything like that. But he's very popular. I think he has passed away. Rest in peace. But he has written quite a few books on Wicca. I love this book for referencing all kinds of things. I love to look in here for information about the Sabbats. I love to look in here for information about different runes. I look in here for different runes, different symbols. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff in here. The broom, the magic circle. I mean, it's basically just talking about the usage of witchcraft while incorporating the goddess and the god. So if you're a Wiccan witch, lots of Wiccans do believe in the goddess and the god. Not all Wiccan witches do, but he refers to the goddess and the god a lot in this book. I think it's interesting. Obviously, like, even if you don't believe in the goddess and the god, if maybe you're an atheist witch, you don't have to pay attention to that in here. There's still like tons of information about different ways to, again, cut your circle, make your magic circle, your altar, different symbols and runes. I mean, there's all kinds of information in here. And like I said, it goes pretty into depth too about the different Sabbats. If you're a witch who celebrates the Sabbats, I do. I fucking love the Sabbats. It's like one of my favorite things about being a witch. I love it so much. But anyway, as you can see, I've made like a ton of notes and highlights and everything. But anyway, I'm obsessed with this book. I still refer to it. I've read it cover to cover. You don't have to do that with this book. It could just be a book that you flip through and like look at the index for certain information that you want. But I read it cover to cover, highlighted and made notes as I went, and now it's really easy for me to just refer to it whenever I need. So that's that book by Scott Cunningham. The next book I wanted to refer to was Green Witchcraft, and this is by Paige Vanderbeck. I follow her on Instagram too. She's really cool. The Fat Feminist Witch, I think, is her name on Instagram. She's really cool. She's a cool lady. But anyway, she has made a really good book called Green Witchcraft, and it's actually very, very popular among a lot of witches, whether you are a green witch or not, especially if you are a green witch. I consider myself partly to be a green witch for sure. I have some bookmarks in a lot of these books. But anyway, this is definitely a great book for, I read it not cover to cover, but I read it probably like the first two. She breaks it up into parts. And I read, I think, the first two parts up until she starts doing like kind of making this book, up until she starts writing this, like it's a reference manual. She goes through tons of plants. Okay, I don't know if you guys can see that, but she goes through all of the plants, talks about its magical properties, talks about the elements associated with it, the chakra associated with it, the energies associated with it. I mean, it's very cool. She also talks about different crystals that you can work with, the properties associated with those things, essential oils, trees, and things that are associated with those trees. It's very cool. And the first part of the book, she really just talks about what green witchcraft is, right? And how you can be a green witch and anyone can be a green witch. She talks a lot about that. It's just a really good, packed full of information type of book, specifically on green witchcraft. And again, you don't have to be a green witch. I'm not 100% a green witch, but I still love this book, right? I still do a lot of green witchcraft. So I love this book. And even if it's not something that you do a lot, like it's still good to have on hand. You know what I mean? Like my path is always constantly evolving and changing. I just like to have a bunch of books on hand in case I'm like interested in something down the line. You know what I mean? Plus knowledge is power, right? So the more knowledge you obtain, we get it. But yeah, this is a great, great reference book for green witchcraft for sure. Let's move on to the next one. So the next reference book that I really wanted to shout out here or talk about here is Crystals by Jenny Harding. I actually found a lot of these books at half price, Amazon. Yeah, I find a lot of these books secondhand. I found this book secondhand at Half Price Books. So this book is solely reference, right? I mean, the first page, like you can read, like obviously you can just read any of these books, but it does talk about how like in the beginning, like crystals and colors, you know, how colors are associated with its magical properties, things like that, the world of crystals, where it comes from, the science behind it, which I appreciate personally. It doesn't talk too much about crystals in general, though. It does talk a little bit about the history, Egyptian history associated with it, Mayan history, Chinese history. However, it goes pretty much directly into the crystals themselves, right? And I like this book because it actually breaks up all the crystals into color, right? So if you can see on the side, you can kind of see how the tabs are different colors. I love that. It's organized very, very well. So I just go to the tab. I might go to the green tab and right there, Amazonite, right? To a different color, and boom, black onyx, right? Like, it's just organized very well, super 101, super easy to follow along. And it's like, she's not a thin book, like she's pretty thick, you know? So there's a lot of crystals in here. Rose quartz. I mean, you probably think of the crystal or mineral and it's in here. Okay, so I love this book. If you do any crystal work, or especially if you're a beginner with working with crystals, this is a great book to get. I'm sure you could probably get it online on Amazon. You could probably still buy it used. Like I said, I got it at half price. I got lucky. I found it at Half Price Books. But this has been phenomenal. Yeah, and each page, like each crystal that it talks about, it goes into pretty intense depth. Talking about the crystal and its setup, talking about its magical properties, talking about the form and the structure, the color, the rarity, the healing effects. I mean, it just goes so into depth on each crystal. It also briefly talks about how you can use crystals to heal, how you can use crystals to meditate, how you use crystals in your everyday life. So again, this is just a great book to have on hand if you do any crystal work at all, honestly. So yeah, let's move on to the next category. That's all I have for my, I guess you can call them reference books. The next category is still kind of referencey, but it more relates to spell work in general. So let's move on to that category. Okay guys, the next category is more just like books that I reference to for spell work. That's basically what it is. These are spell work books. So the first book I really wanted to talk about was called Witchery by Juliet Diaz. Okay. This book is actually the book I got a lot of my bay leaf ideas from. I got the idea to put bay leaf in my moon water from here. I got a lot of my ideas on how to celebrate the different Sabbats in this book. She talks about the Sabbats a lot in this book, and she talks about how you can decorate your altar for each Sabbat. What are some celebrations, how you can celebrate each Sabbat? What are some magical things you should be doing during each Sabbat? Or spells, she suggests different spells for each Sabbat. She talks about the moon phases and how to work with the moon phases. All kinds of things. Different spell work you can do. Even breaks it up into like different categories of witchcraft. Healing a broken heart, protection, success, wealth and abundance, right? She breaks it up into categories like that. I have a lot of these tabbed. She talks about manifesting. So this is just a great book. She covers a lot in a pretty small book, but she really breaks it down in a way that it's super easy to understand, right? She puts a lot of how she personally does things in this book. So I like that personally. Yeah. So if you are someone who, I feel like this is more of, you could definitely get this book if you're a very beginning type of witch, but this is more of like an intermediate, like, okay, I've done a lot of research, now I don't really know what to do with all of this knowledge type of book. She does a lot of like, okay, this is how you apply this knowledge. This is how you apply this magic, right? So this was more of like an intermediate type of book, I feel like. Again, totally don't hesitate to get it if you're like just starting out. But there's a lot of things in here that if you haven't done the research and you haven't like learned about a certain topic of witchcraft yet, there's certain things in here she references to that you might be like, what? Like, I don't know what you're talking about. So this might be better for like an intermediate type of witch. Okay, let's move on to a book that might actually be really great for beginners. So the next book I wanted to talk about was Wicca Book of Spells by Lisa Chamberlain. Okay, this is the first book I ever got. Okay, this is a great book for one-on-one witches. honestly, it's just a bunch of spells, right? It jumps right in. It goes contents, introduction, and then it literally just jumps right into love and relationship spells. She has it categorized into that: protection spells, wealth, prosperity, healing spells, right? And in each category, she has spells, magic oils that you can make, things like that, okay? But it's really easy to follow along. And what she does is she breaks it up into things that you need, right? She talks about the spell and what it does for you. She breaks it up into things that you need, instructions. It's just very broken up in a way that's super easy for a beginner to follow, right? I loved this book. You can tell it's pretty like flimsy and beat up and everything because I used it so much when I was first starting out. Still consider myself a baby witch. I've been practicing for almost a couple years now, but definitely referred to this book a lot in the beginning, in the very beginning of my journey. Very easy to follow along. And it doesn't, when you read like Cleansing Rainwalk. Cleansing Rainwalk is one spell that she has in here. Literally all you need is a rainy day. You go outside, you walk in the rain, and she has things that you repeat to yourself that you say out loud, right? Super easy. I also got my witch bottle for protecting the home. I've done that. The house key, if you watched my interview with Uri's Witchcraft, I talked about my ceremony where I put a house key outside and buried it into the earth. That's in here. I got the idea from here. Just, you get the idea. Super easy to follow along. 101 manual. Great for beginning witches. If you want to dive in and start doing spells like almost immediately, but you want it to be super simple and easy to follow along, this is the book for you, for sure. Okay, let's move on to the last book in this category. So I've seen this book floating around a lot, especially on social media. This is Witchcraft Handbook of Spells, a handbook of magic, spells, and potions. It's by Anastasia Graywolf, and the illustrations are by Melissa West. I love this book. If you want a super almost like folk magic, like old school witchcraft, like stab a toad in the head type of witchcraft, like this is, I'm not doing that, but this is the book for you, okay? Super old spells in here. Like they clearly took the time to research history, to research old witches and old Wicca, old witchcraft. I love this book. Now, a word of caution, she definitely uses spells, puts spells in here to enchant certain people, to make them fall in love with you. She puts spells in here to enchant animals. I personally don't do spells like that because I feel like it's not consensual for the other person or the other animal. Just a word of caution, right? Karma is real. Just letting you know, be careful doing that. Don't try not to put a spell on anyone or hex anyone if you absolutely don't have to. Me personally, that's what I go by, okay? However, there are some great protective and counter spells in here. I've only had to do a counter spell a couple of times, but the counter spells I have had to do are in this book, okay? So if you are having problems with bad energy, with someone else putting a hex on you, I hope not, bad spirits, things like that, this is a great book to protect yourself and to do counter spells to get rid of things like that, okay? There's spells for keeping babies yet to be born safe. I mean, just really old school stuff. And what I really like too is each spell that she puts on here is like she puts the culture that it's from, right? Ancient Hindu, there's a lot of ancient Hindu. There's Romanian spells in here, Native American, American witch's charm, Gaelic, So that's what I think is cool. There's lots of old gypsy spells in here, old gypsy charms, incantations. So there's all kinds of stuff in here. This one is, it gets kind of dark. I'm not gonna lie, guys. It gets a little bit dark. Not so dark that it's like super dangerous. Just like I said, be careful, okay? Be careful what you do in here. Be careful how you use this, okay? I would definitely say that this is not beginner. This is definitely more intermediate, if not more advanced. Like I said, I definitely use this for counter spells, but there are spells in here that I haven't even really done yet or want to touch yet because I don't feel comfortable doing that yet. Okay, so just be careful. Again, a very cool book. Even if you are a beginner, it's a cool book just to have. It looks cool. But just be careful how you use it, okay? All right, guys, so I think that's it for this category. Let's move on to the very last category of books that I have. So, guys, the last category of books that I have is just a couple of books. I didn't really know what to name this category. It's more just like, one of them is historical nonfiction. I guess you could call it that. And the next book is more of like a woman's studies related, like via spirituality and Wicca. But I'll just go ahead and show you. So, all right. So the first book I really wanted to talk about was The Body Sacred. This is by Diane Sylvan. Y'all, I fucking love this book. If you are struggling with body dysphoria, if you are struggling with your femininity and finding the power in your femininity, if you are struggling with loving yourself, if you are struggling with your relationship with food, this book is life-saving, okay? Now, Diane Sylvan is a Wiccan, right? So she refers to the goddess a lot in this book. However, you do not have to be Wiccan to appreciate this book. Like I said, I am not 100% a Wiccan witch, but I do refer to Wicca a lot. So I've been able to enjoy this book immensely. I'm not all the way through it, but it has been tremendous. I am someone who, I'll just be raw and honest, I have struggled with my relationship with food in the past. I've struggled with body dysphoria and eating habits, unfortunately. I've come a long way, and I do put some of the credit on this book. Guys, I'm not gonna lie, like this book has helped me a lot. It has helped me really look at my body in a completely different way. Okay? I look at my body now as a sacred thing. It's sacred. She does so much for me, right? And I almost feel guilty thinking about how I used to treat my body in the past. Now, I can't say that it's all been because of this book where I'm at now. Definitely had to do my own work, my own shadow work, things like that. It's been a long journey. But I am starting to get to the point where I love my body. I love myself. Still have some work to do, of course, not 100% there. But this book has helped me so much. So if you are struggling with things like that, just loving yourself, loving your femininity, loving your body, I would definitely get this book. Man or woman, it doesn't matter. Like, if you are someone who's trying to embrace your masculinity, you might actually still really like this book, because I feel like in order to embrace your masculinity, you have to embrace your femininity and vice versa. That's how I feel. It might just be an interesting read for you too. If you're trying to embrace those energies within you, definitely check this out. But definitely for someone who is trying to embrace their femininity and bring out their femininity and find the power in that side of them, right? They're trying to love their body as it is. This is a phenomenal book. And side note, Diane is fucking hilarious. Like, I read this book and I laugh out loud every time I read it. Like, just things that she says. Like, there is a spell in here. Let me see if I can try to find it in the very beginning. It's just so hilarious. She says, there's a rhyme that she wrote. It's Lady of the Shining Moon, Lady of the Starlit Eyes, Lady of the Rocky Shore, and Lady of thy Thunder Thighs. Holy are thine ancient groves, holy is thy swaying grass, holy are thy sheltering wings, and holy is thy big fat ass. So I just, little things like that she writes, it just makes me laugh. She's hilarious, and she's learned how to love her body and love herself and really connect with the goddess. Again, you can associate that with connecting with the universe or connecting with nature, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be the goddess. You don't have to believe in the goddess to read this book. So yeah, please, if you're someone struggling with that, with any of those things, please check out this book. I'm sure you can find it online used for a pretty good price. But I'm telling you, you guys, it's worth it. It's fucking worth it, okay? Okay, last book. Okay, guys, so the last book I wanted to reference was called Witchfinders by Malcolm Gaskill. Now, this is the historical nonfiction book that I've been talking about. This is all about witch hunt in Britain, mostly throughout Europe. Definitely talks a lot about like Matthew Hopkins, John Stern, those really famous witch hunters. Definitely is, it's placed in, well, during the witch hunt times, so like 1645, 1650, 1600s mainly. It can be a little bit confusing because he does use a lot of Old English words. It can be a little bit confusing too because I feel like Malcolm kind of jumps around a lot. Still does a really good job describing things, but he jumps around a lot. He's clearly, however, done a lot of research. There is chock full of historically accurate descriptions in here. Definitely refers to a lot of accounts made by John Stern and Matthew Hopkins themselves, and how they would talk to witches and interview them and talk about their familiars and what their familiars looked like. And I think it's really interesting. Again, it's definitely, there's a lot of information in it, and it's definitely, again, he jumps around a lot. But if you're willing to be patient and do kind of like a slow read, this has been super interesting if you're into the witch hunts of the 1600s. I think it's fascinating. Really think it's interesting. And if you're into history at all, if you're into history and witchcraft and witches, this book will probably be super fascinating to you. I found this, again, this is another book I found at Half Price Books. It's a very slow read. I'm still getting through it, but so far it's been very interesting. Okay, so again, history, all about the witch hunt, Matthew Hopkins and John Stern's accounts on what they saw and what they went through. It's pretty intense too. Like, man, if someone's cow died or if someone's child got sick and you were that person's next door neighbor and you were a woman back in those days, you better be fucking careful, or you better run for the hills because they're gonna accuse you. Like, it was crazy. Like, that's all it took, y'all. And if they found like a wart on your thigh or something like that, they're like, oh, you're a witch. You're responsible for that person's cattle dying or whatever. Like, it's intense. It's intense. Yeah. All right, guys. Anyway, so those were just some of the books that I really love that are witchy related. If you have any witchy books that you love that I did not go over today, please comment down below and let me know down there. I would love to hear about more books. I really hope that you guys thought this was interesting. If you need want any more information on any of these books, please comment down below. Also, in my next video that I'm posting this week, I will be announcing the giveaway winner. So stay tuned for that. I also have an Instagram. I do tarot card readings on my IGTV pick a deck situation. So if you're into that, go check me out over on Instagram, Abby the Witch, just like it is here. And yeah, I think that's about it. So I really appreciate you guys watching today. And until next time, guys, I hope you stay well. Thank you. Bye.